Okay, so for this tutorial we're gonna change the color of the PCB ring, the power eject ring there. So I shouldn't have to tell you how to take apart your Xbox. There's lots of tutorials about how to do that. You just take the screws out right on the bottom under the rubber flaps, right? Okay, pop the cover off. First thing you want to do is take out the hard drive, so grab the ribbon cable, take it off. Take the red, 2 black and yellow wire for the hard drive and take them out of the track. Pull the hard drive out. Take out the IDE cable. That is what I do. I find it easiest. I just got a pair of needle nose pliers. Stick it in there. Make sure the power is off, of course. Comes off just like that. Set it aside. The screws were already removed before, so I think there's one screw for the hard drive there that you'd have to undo underneath the ribbon cable before you pull up on it. DVD drive, there's 2 screws, one here on the front and one right here. Take those out and then pop the DVD drive up. Get the IDE cable, pull it out. The power, the yellow one. Just kind of use your fingernails or whatever to pull it out. There we go. Okay, so now we got the rest of the Xbox here. We got it opened up. So first thing is we're going to have to take the yellow power cable, the one that goes to the eject and power button, and unplug it. So I have an XIR here. You probably don't, I'm not sure if you have one or not, but that's why it's just going to be a little different for me. So this purple wire here is like the yellow wire for me. Okay, so it's unplugged, and this cable is just gonna come right through this hole here when we have the faceplate attached. So next step is to grab a knife or a tool to wedge kind of in between. Here you can see there's a gap. That's where we want to wedge our tool. I want to unplug the IDE cable if you want things easier for you. Okay. Okay, so what I use is just a big wide knife, and not sharp, of course, just a butter knife. So you want to wedge it in there, good, and then pry out till you hear it kind of snap. The other side. There's the snap we're looking for. And then there's a little tab here in the middle on the bottom. Right here, we're going to have to lift up and it should pop off. So drag the PCB wire out there. So now we're left with this. Now what you need to do is there's the bottom tabs here that are holding the little PCB in place, and then there's this top one. right here. So we want to push the top one in with your finger or your thumb, and then lift the PCB board up. Okay, maybe use my knife there. Here it comes. It's usually not that difficult, but okay. So now we have our PCB. Here are the two tri-colored LEDs. Now we're just going to remove these. Okay, so before we start the next part, I want to explain to you a little bit about the PCB here. So here's the PCB. Now facing this way with the yellow cable on this side, there's 3 holes on each LED. You can tell the 3 solder points there, right? So the top solder point on this side of the board is for the power for the green color of the LED. The middle is ground. The bottom is power for red. Okay? So the PCB, it has 2 colors, green and red. If both colors are on at the same time, it will be orange. So yeah, so that's how this PCB works. On this side, it's kind of inverted, it's opposite. The top side is for power for red, middle is ground, and bottom is power for green. So this, kind of go by this, if you want just one color for when the power is on, like say like with regular Xbox, with when it's green, if you wanted one color for that, you would put the that color, because we're using 2 LEDs for each side, you would put that color that you want for that on the top here, and you'd put it on the bottom on this side. I'll show you in a second. So we want to set it up on the, this is a little third hand device that I have. You can get them at the Source, or if you're in the States, Radio Shack. Not very expensive. Just makes the work a lot easier. So we'll heat up the soldering iron and get to this, and we're going to desolder these solder joints. All 6 of them. Alright, so we're back. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a rosin or a soldering flux. You could use a paste or a liquid like this, just so that this desoldering is going to be a lot easier. So here's my desoldering braid as well that I'm going to use. Again, pick it up at Radio Shack or the Source. Okay. I'm going to put this flux right on the joints. This is going to make the desoldering a lot easier. Now you want the holes completely clean. not want to tug on it to get it out of the holes. Tug on the LEDs because you might wreck the pad. Okay, so that's about it for that. Now I could just grab the LEDs, grab the legs, bend them, straighten them out. Now just kind of wiggle them back and forth, make sure that they're quite loose and solder isn't holding them still. There we go, that one's clean out. That one is too. There we are, the two LEDs, tricolors. Now you could put some more tricolor LEDs in, but tricolor LEDs are pretty expensive. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to use two 3mm LEDs for each side. So I got some red ones here and orange. Had a bunch of blue, but I used them all up, so. So I guess test your LEDs first. Just grab a regular battery, 9V or whatever. This is like a 3V. The longer leg on the LED will be the positive and the shorter will be the negative. So one leg on the positive, one leg on the negative. So we know that's working. Orange, red. Okay. So I'll clean this up with some isopropyl alcohol and cotton swabs, and then we'll get to the next part. Okay, so for the next part here, we're going to put the LEDs through the holes. So, like I said, this is power to the green on the top, on this side, and power to green LED on the bottom, on this side. So, instead of green, I'm going to use the red. So, I want to put the positive leg through the top hole, and the negative leg through the middle hole, the ground hole. And now I want to bend the LED so that it fits in this little groove there. The LED, the little bottom part of the bulb of the LED. It's going to be a tight fit, but okay, so that's in there. Now flip it around and bend the legs to the sides, okay, so that the LED doesn't move around much. Now we're going to tack that in. It's just like through-hole soldering. Well, it is through-hole soldering. Okay, so you're going to heat up the pad as well as the leg of the LED, and then touch the solder onto the pad, not onto the iron. Now you can clip off the excess from the legs. So just use a tool like this. This is, again, Radio Shack or The Source in Canada. Well, maybe make sure if it's in the correct position in the front. Okay, it's still in that groove, so it's good. Watch your eyes when you snip these, because they can just go flying, the legs there. So. Alright, so that's that one. Now we can grab the orange, or whatever color you have. And now we're going to put the positive through the bottom hole. So this way, so like this. Positive, long one in the bottom. And you're going to grab the negative and you're going to just move it out of the way. You're going to bend it right up. We just want it out of the way right now. Okay. Try to get it into that groove. Same one as we used before. Bend that LED back, LED leg. Okay, now we're going to tack that into place. Of course, it fell out on me. Check the work before you cut the leg. So mine's kind of too far out there, so I'm gonna have to do it again. You could just melt the solder to get it and then push it with your finger on the other side, and then the solder will re-solidify or it'll harden, and then you can get it in the proper spot that way. Okay, cut the leg. Okay, now the negative leg we want to cross with the negative leg of the red LED. And we want to solder those two negative legs together. So heat up both negative legs and apply some solder. Sure there's a connection there. And then you trim the leg. There we go. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other side, but we're going to do the opposite, right? Because it's flipped around. So we're going to do the red on the bottom, the orange on the top. And then we'll be back after that. Okay, so I have my PCB finished off here. Now I'm going to grab a Dremel tool. This is a part, since we have two LEDs in the PCB now, it doesn't quite fit into the front panel anymore. So we need to shave this little region here. We need to shave that down, cut it out with any kind of cutting tool. I use a Dremel, just with like a stone grinding bit. So it's up to you which one you want to do. So we'll do that right now. And I don't have power. All right. You want to do this in a pretty well ventilated area as well, because cutting down this plastic is probably pretty toxic. Okay, now to try to fit that PCB in there. Don't try to just smush it in there without cutting out those areas, because you're just gonna wreck the PCB. So bottom tabs in first, slide the bottom in first underneath those tabs, and then just push down on the top till you hear it click. And there we go, back together. Okay, so welcome back. And so I put the Xbox all back together, and the front panel I just kind of pushed back in there, it clips back in. So let's check out our new LEDs here. It's just changing color because I have a mod chip in this one. So it's showing red right now. So red is what used to be green. And you can kind of tell this isn't quite orange. This color, this is our new color. This is orange and red on the eject ring right now. Here, I'll just show you here. So right now it's on orange. So it used to be the mix of red and green, right? Now it's a mix of red and orange. And now here's the green. What used to be red is now the orange. And there you see the difference. It's noticeable. It's not a huge difference, but it is a different color there. So that's it. Thanks.